This past weekend, our department celebrated 75 years of meteorology at Penn State with more than 300 guests in attendance. The history of the department can be traced back to the 1930s and the first two faculty members to teach meteorology courses, Helmut Landsberg and Hans Neuberger.
Most memorable events were when we had to live on very little money and try to accomplish something. And I recall that Dean Steidl, who was at the time the head of the mineral industries, as it was called then, started a program in geophysics. And it was equally memorable that I had 12 hours of teaching per week, which is quite unusual nowadays at a university. And of course we had very few students. I remember my first class, I had only 4 students.
Well, when I came, of course, not only was meteorology as a field less developed than it is now, we also had here at Penn State in the Department of Mining very few resources on which we could rely to make meteorology grow in the Department of Mining. And then, of course, after the war, with the hiring of some key personnel, both of whom are already retired, Dr. Blackadar and Dr. Panofsky, things started to really grow. And the whole direction of the department was determined by the capability of these two men.
Another cornerstone in the department's foundation arrived just after World War II in the person of Charles Hosler, who helped put Penn State meteorology on the map by using a new technology and by making friends in high places.
I think that the advent of television in central Pennsylvania was very important in the development of meteorology at Penn State.
Observations of the wind way up in the atmosphere, and that flow aloft goes like this. It comes across like so, and Audrey will probably get caught up in that flow.
The other thing that happened was when President Milton Eisenhower came to Penn State, his brother was President of the United States. Some may remember that, Dwight Eisenhower. And Milton, more than anyone ever will know, was a co-president of the United States. He spent every weekend in the White House with his brother, writing speeches and making policy, and traveled frequently back and forth from Penn State to Washington, D.C. Then when Dwight Eisenhower came here in 1955 to speak at commencement, there was a critical weather forecast because they had 40,000 people wanting to see him in the stadium, the football stadium, give his talk, and it was pouring rain all night. So I was called down and had breakfast, shared a grapefruit with Dwight Eisenhower, and talked about the weather at D-Day and the D-Day forecast, and presented him with the weather map and what there'd be a window of a few hours when they could hold commencement outdoors, and everything worked out. That was good for the meteorology department, the fact that I was sort of the local forecaster and got us publicity, and of course the president knew we were here.
Indeed, it never hurts when the presidents of the university and the United States are in your corner. I'll have more on the history of the department in a later WxYz. Fred is back with the extended forecast next.